I think he thought he'd made it.
7 all.
So did a lot of people in the crowd. Here it is, look. Make up your own minds. Well, I think a good call, that. And a very brave one. My goodness, they're not easy, these line-clinging passes, are they? And I wonder what effect that will have. In his mind, he'd won the set already, and the elation was there for all to see.
Off 8-7, Lendl.
So a third chance.
Werby, quiet, please.
Yes, he's missed.
Spiel, Estes, game first set, Lendl.
So after just 54 minutes, Ivan Lendl noses ahead. The tie-break.
7-6.
9 points to 7. And really, that was a thoroughly competitive finish, and I think credit to both men.
Yes, I think Lendl deserved it. He had all of the break points. He had, up until the point that Hlasek had his set point, which was his first break point, Lendl had 5. Really was making all the running. But as luck would have it, he didn't secure any of them. And of course, that's the great strength normally of Lendl. He takes his opportunities, and that's why he's been the player that he's been over so many years. But full marks to Lendl. He stuck his ground and managed to secure in the tiebreak. And there we can have a look at the statistics. Hlasek has hit more winners, and in fact has had more errors, forced errors. So Lendl has actually been far more penetrating from the back of the court than Hlasek.
Seat quickly, please.
And that, I think, is to be expected. He has a far more consistent game. He's much more solid from the back of the court. You would expect him to make less errors, but at the same time, with the power of his shots, force the errors from his opponent, which he has done. Now maybe this set in the bag for Lendl will give him just a little bit of breathing space. He can open his shoulders. He certainly has given the impression of being just a little bit inhibited. And that, I think, a little bit of nervous tension tends to make a player seem to be a little bit sluggish on the court. They don't move instinctively, so it's conceivable now that Lendl might free up a little bit and start to move to the ball far more instinctively. Of course, this interruption by the spectators, the crowd coming in after work, doesn't help a player to settle down. So it's Lendl to start the second set.
Winsane mode, 15 love. Rising no lead, 30 love.
Well, this man could take only 11 points off the Lendl serve in the first set before the tiebreak.
Rising Winsane, 30-15.
And one of those 11 had been a double fault. That's his second.
Hlasek Winsane, 40-15. Spiel, game, Lendl.
Well, just what he'd want. A nice, convincing start to the second set.
First game, second set.
After that nerve-wracking few moments that they both had to endure in the tiebreak.
Yes, I think also the fact that Lendl now is serving the first game will help him too psychologically, puts the pressure on Hlasek. But somehow Hlasek has got to find a way of getting the ball back into play. He hasn't returned as consistently as Lendl. He hits the ball flatter, so therefore it's harder to get the ball at the feet. But there's a view of Munich, a magnificent view from the Olympic Hall, and the white there, in fact it looks pink on the television, is the snow, some 17 degrees below freezing outside. Pretty cold, but the tennis indoors is pretty hot. So it's Hlasek again being interrupted temporarily by the spectators.
A pair of ladies just under our commentary box taking their time in their fur coats to find their seats. All is well. Well, in terms of aces, he's done rather the better, 7 of them now. But, of course, it hasn't made all that difference to the match. And I felt that there were signs at the end of the first set, even before the tiebreak began, that Lendl was beginning to read this delivery, and he was finding some more penetrating returns. Great thing, of course, is variety. Keep your opponent uncertain where the next one's coming. There is a broken string. You heard it. He changes rackets every time the balls are changed, every 7 and 9 in this case.
I was just about to say, John, because he does that, he seldom does break a string. It's most unusual to see that with Lendl.
Bryson Kiesling, 30-40.
Well, here's the brittleness that the coach here, Gunter Bresnik of Hlasek, will be noting mentally. And it's something which actually he's improved. He's starting to eradicate. Well played. In fact, he's so much more mature as a performer now than when we first saw him win at Wembley in 1988. His first tournament title, that. On the men's tour, that is. He'd won junior tournaments, of course. Well, he wanted to see a bit more adventure from Lendl. Looks as if that's what he's decided to do, take his chances and approach the net rather more than he has been. A second break point in this game.
Spiel, game, Lendl.
And there it is, early in the second set. Ivan Lendl, the last winner of the Grand Prix, which was replaced by the ATP Tour's Championships, which have just been held, where Lendl was a semi-finalist after winning his first 3 round-robin matches. So he failed there to win a big title at the end of the year. He therefore wants desperately to do something here.
15 0. 15 love. Rising 0. 30 love. Peterson 0. 40 love.
Totally outguessed Hlasek in that delivery.
Reserve.
It always gets a clap, doesn't it? No.
Spiel, game, Lendl. Neue Bälle. Lendl führt 3-0. Lendl leads 3 love.
Well, there was just one break of service in the match, but it was enough for Lendl to come through 7-6, 9-7 in the tiebreak, and in the second set, 6-3. Now, from Ivan Lendl, who won the first of his 8 Grand Slam titles in 1984, Roland Garros, the French Championships, to the man who won there in 1989 and beat Lendl en route, Michael Chang, still a teenager, 19 years old. His best performance of this year was also in the French Open, reaching the quarter-final. His opponent now, not John, but Patrick McEnroe, qualifying where his famous brother has failed to do so, on the strength of reaching the last 4 in Melbourne at the start of the year. And in the Cup, he beat Thierry Champignon in round 1. Didn't start too well, though, in his quarter-final match, Chang taking the first set 6-2. Let's join Mark Cox and Dan Maskell as McEnroe opens the second set.
Forehand error on the 15th stroke of the rally.
0-15, love 15.
In this class of tennis, you simply can't afford to give away points like that.
Hlasek, love 30.
One of the problems here, Dan, is that he can't settle down.
No.
And the more he tries, the worse it becomes. And this is a very important game, this first game of the second set. Very edgy indeed. He needs to take a few deep breaths and try and relax.
Love 40.
3 break points.
Won the set already, and the elation was there for all to see.
Oxen 8-7. Lendl.
So a third chance. Here it is, look. Make up your own minds. Well, I think a good call, that. And a very brave one. My goodness, they're not easy, these line-clinging passes, are they? wonder what effect that will have in his mind. 54 minutes. Ivan Lendl noses ahead.
7 sets.
The tie break,
7-6.
9 points to 7. And really, that was a thoroughly competitive finish, and I think credit to both men.
Jurgic, quiet please.
Yes, he's missed.
Spiel, erster Satz. Game first set, Lendl.
So after just... Ooh. I think he thought he'd made it.
7 beide. 7-all.
So did a lot of people in the crowd.